Hello, lovely people. Back with another video. Now, we have a very different things, so bear with me and let me know what you think. But today, I'm back with another message for you, and the message is that it's okay to be called to something different. We'll be reading from 1 Corinthians, verse 4 to 11, and it goes: There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone it is the same God at work. Now to each one, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one there is given through the Spirit a message of wisdom, to another a message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gift of healing by that one Spirit, to another miraculous powers, to another prophecy, to another speaking in different kinds of tongues, and to still another the interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and He distributes them to each one just as He determines. Now, why is this important? This is important to understand because there is meaning and purpose to everything we do and everything we're called to do. And every gift, like this passage mentions, is made and administered to us by God. So no matter how big or small the calling or your purpose is, there's meaning to it, and it's important for us to find it. And once we find it, it makes it easier for us to work with it and use it for the common good, like I believe it's verse 7 mentioned. Now, what are the main issues that we as Christians encounter when it comes to getting different callings, finding a different purpose to maybe what we have around us? We're just going to go into that and go over some practical steps. You can think of practical steps that you can start implementing to better understand your purpose, to better understand your calling, and to better navigate it. So the first issue is obviously that we don't always see the meaning in what we do. Obviously then, some gifts may seem very different to the ones that people around us have. So this could come from, what people study, what careers people have. I know that nowadays, sorry for the wind, I hope you can hear me properly, but we're going to go with the flow that the same wind is flowing with, and we're going to keep it rolling. So obviously when it comes to careers, we know that there's some career paths or ways of serving that are more common, more popular than others, more glamorous, if I can put it that way, than others. And that may be an issue because when you feel called to something that's very different, that is very out of line with what is common to all, you may encounter issues. And then the third one is that this issue is a direct consequence of what I just mentioned before, is that isolated path that obviously seems so different to other careers or what other people are doing can be daunting, especially if you don't really have examples around you to maybe guide you or whatever. Most of the time, we always look to the people around us for guidance, to the people around us for, how do you say it? Yeah, guidance, but also examples of what to do and what not to do. And when we have a calling that's very different, that may be a bit more niche, it could be hard to find. So these are the main issues that I see, some issues that I myself may have encountered. But now we're going to go into how to deal with these issues. So I think the first way and the best way to start is to look at the bigger picture and not to only look at what you have in front of you. Now this could be applied in different ways. So by looking at the bigger picture, we're going to go back to what the passage that you read mentioned, is the fact that no matter how different it is all administered by the same God that gives what we do meaning and purpose. So it might not make sense to you now, or maybe you already have the bigger picture of what you're meant to do maybe 5, 10 years down the line, and you find yourself doing something or serving in an area that doesn't immediately make sense. But you have to understand that a lot of what we do are just experiences and pathways, or how they would say in French, un tremplin, to give you the necessary tools that put together give you that final result. The final result doesn't just come in bulk, it comes from the accumulation of different experiences, and that come from, serving in different areas, you know. So that's obviously very important. And then you need to understand that that isolation that you feel is gift based. And I think that a lot of people that have these more isolated gifts start isolating themselves in general. You need to understand that this is your life, your day-to-day life with the people around you, the people that you love, your friends, whatever. And then there's the time to serve, the time to work, the time to apply yourself. Just because you're isolated in your work doesn't mean that you're isolated in your life. It's normal to be isolated when you work. And even when you're working with people in the same field or serving with people in the same domain, there's some things that you do that will, bring you to be isolated. And that's completely fine. So this is just to distinguish, that feeling of being isolated. I think that it's a feeling that we put on ourselves, especially if you don't understand that it's just temporary isolation. There's a time to be with your friends, there's a time to be with your people, and then there's a time to put your head down and work. You may work, you might, work with people, and even when you work with people, you still have your individual tasks, individual things to do. And if you find yourself, with a very particular calling, a very particular way to serve, just understand that it's gift based. That isolation doesn't isolate you in general. It's a very specific thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. So far, the first two issues we've covered is mainly perception, the way you perceive what you have. Perception is reality, so you really need to focus on that. And then for me, the last one is understanding that there is always an unknown side to whatever you do, or to whatever next step you take. So even if it's something that's more common, that's less common, you stepping into that next step will always be unknown to you, no matter how prepared you are for it. Give me 1 second. I don't need to sneeze. I'm good to go. But there's always an unknown component and unknown element for everybody. So you should not take that next step as something that you fear. The next step is just maybe the next season, or it's just the next opportunity to learn something that you can use down the line. So whether it's something that you're going through with more people backing you, or whether it's something that you're going through in a more isolated, kind of situation, it's completely fine. And you need to understand again that everybody goes through that. Even for the most experienced of people, when they take the next step into whatever they're doing or they're calling or whatever, it's unknown to them. And you need to understand, like I said, and I'm saying it again, everybody goes through that. You just feel like it's worse for you because you may be going down a path, or maybe, serving in a way that's less common, so you think that you're more isolated than everybody else. I just want to let you know that you're not the only one going through that. So you shouldn't see it as a bad thing. You shouldn't, use it as an excuse to further skew your perception of what you have to do, which will obviously impact your ability to tap into that gift and to serve, like, 1 Corinthians verse 7 said, serve for the common good. So yeah, that's pretty much the video of the day. And also, when it comes to looking for inspiration, looking for different ways to approach, you can always learn from other people's experiences. You know, I did mention before that we always look around us, but you should also look at other people's experiences. That's why people have books. That's why social media is there. That's why people share their stories. That's why they share their experiences, to also give you a head start in certain areas. Now, like I mentioned, whether you have a red start, head start, whether you have a bit more knowledge, you're still stepping into something unknown, which is fair, but you always have ways to ease into it. Just because you starting here doesn't mean you can't do a couple of things to push yourself a bit higher. Read a couple of books, hear a couple of people that have been through that same thing, and maybe you're still starting at the bottom. Whatever new thing you start is a new beginning, but you can always give yourself a bit of a head start. Just because it doesn't look good in the beginning doesn't mean you have to leave it like that. You can always make it slightly better. You can make it better in the beginning, and as you progress, you always have to see how you can step it up a little bit. So yeah, that's the video. That's the message for you. Hopefully it edifies you. Hopefully you've learned something from today. And yeah, I was meant to post this video yesterday, but I got a bit caught up in other things, football related. But yeah, we're here. It's a beautiful Friday. It's a good day. We're here with new angles, and we're here with a new message. See you next time. Take care, and